Could LA Noire 2 finally be on the cards? This is a bit of a leap, however, the idea does come from Rockstar recently acquiring the studio of Brendan McNamara, head of 2011's LA Noire. His studio is called Video Games Deluxe. It's now been renamed Rockstar Australia. And this is the studio that saved the original GTA trilogy remasters across the last few years. After Grove Street Games' disastrous release in 2021, McNamara is a bit of a controversial figurehead in himself regarding treatment of Team Bondi during LA Noire's development, but his return and his studio now being called, as I said, Rockstar Australia, fuels speculation on what project he could head up next. Why bring the dude back?
Yeah.
And he's kind of really known for one thing, because Team Bondi's Whore of the Orient, which was their follow-up to LA Noire, horrific name. Probably never really going to get over the finish line with that name.
No, probably not.
That game was announced in 2012. It was cancelled in 2016. Apparently, it was an absolute nightmare to bring together. And like I said, with McNamara, you can go Google that dude's name. I would shout out Matt McMuscle's documentary on LA Noire. He did a really good What Happened video on LA Noire. McNamara, like I said, a bit of a controversial figure, but he's also been very open about the stresses of making a video game, the reality of trying to pioneer something like the motion capture technology for LA Noire. And then he obviously had a whole bunch of ideas about what he was going to do after that. LA Noire, a bit of a divisive reception, overall positive, but obviously I couldn't stand it. A lot of people loved it. I just was like, this is an abysmal thing, but a lot of people loved it. Just a broken interrogation system. But a lot of people really liked it. And coming out of that, I feel like McNamara had a whole bunch of ideas and wasn't able to execute them. So now we are almost a decade later from the worst period in, at least so far, that dude's development history. And most recently, in regards to him and his team, when they were called Video Games Deluxe, they were working on LA Noire stuff. They helped out with the 2017 remaster of the game, the VR version of the game. That in itself remixed some of the stuff with the interrogation system. Still didn't work that well, but did what they could. And so now it seems like, now that he's joined Rockstar officially, bit of the old budget behind him, we're getting LA Noire 2.
I'm conflicted on this, Scott, because on the one hand, LA Noire is one of the best games ever made, and is one of my favorite games ever made.
Fundamentally broken.
And on the other hand, everything I've heard about this guy is not great. Granted, I've not checked out the story in probably about 15 years since the original title dropped. But that was one of the first big kind of exposés that I remember about like toxic workplace kind of conditions that LA Noire was produced under, and I was surprised to hear that his studio was already working with Rockstar over the past few years, like you said, helping out on the GTA Definitive Edition and working on LA Noire stuff. And yeah, to me, I wonder why you would make a big song and dance about acquiring the studio and specifically his involvement in the studio if you weren't gearing up for something a little bit more than being a support and working on other Rockstar games. So I wonder if we're going to get, if not an LA Noire 2, a spiritual successor using the same gameplay model.
Well, just something from Rockstar that isn't GTA or Red Dead or like a massive game that takes 5 to 10 years to turn around. Like I always cite, I mean, maybe it just is a bygone part of gaming history. It is a good long while ago now that Rockstar were known for multiple projects within a few years, like your Bullies, your Warriors, your table tennises, whatever. I would love it if they were able to reuse a lot of the assets, the production, turn something else around. Look at the likes of the Like a Dragon series. Like Sega's Ryuga Gotoku Studio are phenomenal at putting those games out one every year with a lot of crossover. I think there's probably a conversation to be had over time about how much of those games are reused. Personally, I don't really care if something plays well, whatever. But Rockstar seem to put all these assets into one thing, wipe the table, start again, go again. Whereas I feel like over the 2000s, there was a lot of shared DNA between Bully and the GTA trilogy, and the Warriors, and like you could feel it when you played it. Like these are all the same engine. We're using them for different things. I would hope that you get someone like a McNamara, if he's still hungry to do something like this, and you either do a period piece like this, or you just do something that is a smaller scale project that maybe only takes like 3 to 4 years to turn around or whatever. And we're not waiting 10 years for an LA Noire 2. I mean, LA Noire was 2011. Like, it's a teenager's life ago.
Oh,
so like more than that. So it's like there's a generation of gamers who don't even care. And so I think, for me, I want Rockstar to be way more varied. And I think once they get the big lump out of the, when a snake swallows a sheep, and they've got like a big lump.
I'm not too familiar with that.
Big long snake, big lump.
I can imagine it, yeah.
Big long snake, big lump. Once that lump gets that's GTA 6. Once that gets out the way and the snake can move forward again, then maybe they can consume other things, produce other things.
I'll tell you why. Listen,
I want other things.
As someone who played Max Payne 3 at the end of last year and absolutely adored it, and it does have a soft spot for a lot of the games produced around that. For me, I know my boom period for Rockstar is actually ahead of yours. Mine is around 2010 when we got Obviously, starting with GTA 4 in 2008, then going into Red Dead, then going into Max Payne, then going into LA Noire, then GTA 3.
The downfall.
That's my favorite period of Rockstar history, but we are 6 years apart.
Yes.
So I'd like them to get back to producing those kind of games. The reason I don't think they ever will is because they make too much money producing the modern kind of games. Like, we can point towards how much we loved the cadence of releases back in the day, but I think until they have a disastrous sales bomb like that won't happen. Like, we're looking at like GTA 5, a game that has sold 250 million copies. We're looking at Red Dead Redemption 2, which has sold a fraction of that, but still sold 75 million copies. I
just don't think you get a Brandon McNamara and you convert that studio name to make them help out on GTA Online content.
This is my thing is just about,
get GTA 6 out the way. It was one of the biggest, probably the biggest development in gaming history. Like, apparently it's reportedly cost $2 billion. And obviously it's been in development since at least 2013. And so once you get that out the way, there are so many people who have been bolted to this thing for over a decade. Like, imagine what that's like on the career level. Like, on any level, really, if you're attached to one project, it's like, no, that's finally out the way and it's done. You can breathe Frodo style and be like, it's over.
Yeah.
And then do something else. I have to imagine that they don't leap straight into GTA 7. They do something else, for the love of God.
I don't know, man, because, again, just going off their history, look, I want this to be LA Noire 2 or a spiritual successor. I want it to be something different.
Lady of the Orient.
But I just, retitle it. But, like, I don't know, because you said, GTA 6 has had such a long development, but it was the same with Red Dead 2. Like, that was the first time every Rockstar studio, which previously had worked on their own projects, all came together to work on this mammoth sequel, and then they moved on to GTA 6, and then presumably they'll all move on to Red Dead 3 or whatever it is that's up next. But I hope, with the amount of studios they have, I would also like to see them kind of split off and be able to make their own things. I want to see follow-ups to Bully 2, which we know is in development and then was cancelled in favor of these bigger games. Hell, if this studio has been acquired and all it gives me is Red Dead Redemption 2 remastered for current-gen consoles, I'm not going to say it's the best-case scenario, but at least it's more than what I'm currently getting right now.
That's aiming at a potential bullseye and just shooting your foot instead.
It's a pretty good bullseye. It's like hitting the 25 outside the bullseye.
My thing is, I wonder how much Rockstar are in search of more auteurs. Like, Dan Houser left, Leslie Benzies left. We finally saw Benzies' new game, Mindshare, I think it's called.
Can't remember.
The car shooting game that was announced a few weeks ago. There's a lot of foundational members, including Laszlo as well, foundational members of Rockstar that made the way, that propelled that cadence across the 2000s, the early 2010s. Red Dead 2 was the sign-off for that team, like at least in my opinion. I did a whole video on it about how Red Dead 2 is about the death of Rockstar. That's still on the channel if people want to go watch it. But since then, we haven't heard about figureheads in Rockstar, whereas they used to be. I mean, Sam Houser stuck around, like one of the original Houser brothers, but we don't hear about Rockstar storytellers. We don't really hear about figureheads, whereas we used to hear so much about Dan and Sam Houser and Leslie Benzies and Laszlo to a point. But, like, it's that thing where I'm like, you get a Brandon McNamara in because immediately his name turns heads and you let him do a thing. You don't just go make content for the online series.
Maybe you do. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that would be the win that they maybe would want it to be, because, I mean, like, you announce him and then we all go back to the reports about the toxic workplace culture from 15 years ago and think, why are you bringing this guy back?
Then.
Oh, yeah. It would, like, I don't know, because that team has already been working as a support. I don't want to get ahead of myself because, like I said, I love Ellen.
You do.
I love it so much.
I love the idea of it.
I liked it in VR. I liked it on the 360. I liked it on the PlayStation 4, Scott. I like it a lot, okay?
I'd like to try it again. I've tried it like 3 times. The interrogation system is terrible.
And I like wider Rockstar games as well, but I wonder, GTA Online, GTA 6 Online, that's going to be a mammoth undertaking that requires so many studios to pump out content, and then that's not going into whatever their next game is going to be when it releases in 2035 and we're all old as balls. But yeah, like you said, it's interesting from the auteur perspective and like what figureheads are within Rockstar. What does that structure even look like now? Totally. Are those distinct identities even distinct identities anymore? Yeah, they still have the names, but are they working as one big conglomerate almost? Because every other thing they've done outside of their mainline games hasn't been received all of that well. You look at the support for Red Dead Online.
Right.
something that had loads of promise kind of was just wasted. You look at the cancelled, allegedly, versions of Red Dead Redemption 2's next-gen update. That just went down.
GTA 5 story content
GTA 5 story content disappeared. You get GTA Trilogy, the definitive edition, and it's half-baked because they weren't doing
they
it
outsourced it
internally, so everything apart, it's kind of like Sony in a way, everything apart from the core thing that the entire team is working on just doesn't seem to get any attention at all. Even if we can sit here and say, well, a Red Dead update would be an open goal, continuing Red Dead Online should be a no-brainer, making a Bully 2 should be a no-brainer, bring back Max Payne 3 and remaster that, LA Noire 2, but I don't know, I wonder what position they're in structurally wise now that those creatives have gone in. Like, what does the future of Rockstar look like? I guess we'll find out soon with GTA 6.
That's the big pivot point, is that they have like two branches to go down. It's like, do you care about having a variety of projects and different creative visions without the people that initially would give you them across the last 15, 20 years, or do you just want to be the GTA studio? Like, because like you said, Red Dead 2's online mode just fell away, but I would say that's likely because Dan Houser left and the people who actually wanted to make a Red Dead 2 weren't there anymore.
Oh, you think?
That's my theory on it, yeah. Just because I feel like Red Dead 2 is such a passion project and such a comment on the death of like lawlessness in the West, the death of the old Rockstar identity, and not knowing what the future of it is. And so they were gone. They're going to go make different projects or whatever. So they can. And Sam Houser, obviously being more of the money guy in himself anyway, he can just stick around and make all the GTA money in the world. It just seems a bit naff and a bit pointless buying up studios to bolt them onto GTA when it'll take care of itself anyway.
See, I know. At least I agree.
I guess we'll see.
I think it's because they can just, they could just be the GTA studio now forever.
Yeah. Well, they kind of are anyway.
They kind of have no real incentive to make anything else. Like I said, Red Dead 2 sells 75 million copies. A number that almost every other studio would kill to get, and then it doesn't really get supported because it doesn't do 250 million copies and do the amount in shark cards per month that, again, most AAA games would do in their entire lifetime.
True.
So I just think, oh man, it's like the epitome. And again, I love Rockstar. I love their past few games. I can't wait for GTA 6, but it is that thing of everything just gets so narrow the more successful you get. And when you establish a bar that's up here, anything down below it, even if it's a fraction below it, is deemed not worthy when we could be making GTA money every time.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, that's obviously where so many other publishers fall down. You would hope that because Sam Houser is still there, and he's been there since 97 or 98, that they would be able to make these other projects. Like, why even stay in this industry? Like, you've proven you can make money. You make like $8 million a day on GTA Online. Like, it's that's one of those things where I'm like, why stick around? If you're like, we'll see. GTA 6 is going to be the proving ground for all of this.
It is. I'd be interested in what an independent Rockstar looked like. I wonder if they would change the model, because obviously they have owners, they have the shareholders they have to address, and I wonder if Take-Two Take-Two makes so much money on them. I wonder if there's how much pressure has been has come down from the top to be like, look, we've established a bar now, and I know you might want to do something else with all of this money, and don't get me wrong, we're going to give you a couple of billion to make whatever game you want, as long as it is Grand Theft Auto. There's freedom within there, but there's also a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, I think that's why you've seen in the modern industry, if you want to do that, you break away and do it yourself. Like the Leslie Benzies game, which hilariously isn't that far off a GTA gameplay wise. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where, like I said, GTA is gonna prove all of it, but I just hope for more creative ideas, but I guess we'll see.